What's happening, Shredder Nation? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to episode number 61 of Shred Your Body. I'm your host, Jesse James Jamnik, and I'm really excited for this new year. I'm excited for the motto that we have, which is Discover You in 2022. And I'll tell you already, with our first calls of the year last week, we have seen some just ridiculous transformations physically, mentally. People are starting to understand the power that they possess, the choices that they make, how it changes every aspect of their life. What people are understanding that raw health is the true foundation. And on this Tuesday call, my goal is to be able to just share amazing stories, what I call proof of concept. And we've been doing this now for 61 episodes. The ER Shreds is over 15 months now, where, when we started this in October of 21, and it was just a thought. And now it's literally been thousands of people that have just kind of taken it, put themselves back on the tracks, took the challenge, raised their hand, said, yup, I'm ready. Enough is enough. I'm tired of the BS. And I just wanted to shoot an extra little thank you out to all of those amazing people back then that raised their hand and took a chance where there wasn't as much proof of concept as there is today. There wasn't as many amazing stories. There wasn't all, the time of education where we've learned about different concepts. We've learned to ask questions about things that we thought was one way, and we're finding out to be a different way. And that's the coolest part about the ER Shred. It's this journey. It's this empowerment aspect. It's getting people to realize that they really have the answers inside. It's getting people to be more in tune with themselves, their gut instincts, understanding the way that their minds are connected to their body. And as we dive deeper and learn more, we realize that we're really on the right line to just awesome daily quality of health. And that's really what we're doing. So without further ado, I want to bring in my guest tonight. I just met this guy last week on our Come Alive call, talk about our calls. His story really touched me. I thought it was absolutely amazing how he was just able to just give up all of this stuff. And I'm just curious to find out more about his story. And I just, we were talking, before the call, and I realized that we have a little bit more in common than I thought. So welcome to Shred Your Body, Dexter. I appreciate you being here tonight, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man, for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, I know you're busy. You have you're an outside sales rep. You run your own tint shop. You're an entrepreneur. You have children. You got the wife. So I really appreciate you carving out a little piece of that time. So I don't take it for granted. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's why I'm hiding. Like I said, I'm hiding up here in my daughter's room to break.
He's hiding in his daughter's room.
Yep.
I love it. So before we dive into obviously the ER Shred, the crazy results that you've had, I want to kind of find out, where you found this willpower, how you just kind of poof and really gave up some of the things that I've watched people struggle with so much over 20 years of playing in this game. I've struggled with it. People that I've coached, I've watched struggle with it. And you just kind of made this commitment and decided. So I want to dive into that. But before that, just let's get to know you a little bit. Tell people who you are, where you're from, where'd you grow up? What are your passions? What are your hobbies? Your family, if you want to brag on them, go nuts.
Yeah. So, I'm from a small town, Billings, Montana. I was born and raised here, actually, and I had moved out of town when I was 17. I was playing junior hockey and moved out to Spokane, Washington. Did my whole senior year of high school out there, which was kind of a cool experience, to be able to move out while you're still in high school and you're 100% on your own. Like my family, 8 hours away. And they were like, have fun. Good luck. See you later. So that's kind of was my big start to independence and what do I have to do to figure stuff out on my own. did a whole year there. And then after that, then I moved down to Phoenix, did the same thing, lived with my cousin Dan down there. He's the guru of the culinary world. He's got some fancy culinary degree. And I mean, I got taught like how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich correctly. Believe it or not, it's a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I survived on a George Foreman grill, chicken breast and broccoli, and slowly got introduced how to like cook right and stuff from him. So that was cool. So stayed in Phoenix, for about 8-9 months, and then ended up moving up to Boise, Idaho, and finished up my career up there. Which then after that, then brought me back up here to Billings. And it was shortly after that, I had met my wife, and we've been together now 12 years ish, 12, 13, something like that. And
yeah, you better get that answer right. I'll give you a second.
Well, we just celebrated our 10-year recording. I've got the easiest anniversary in the world. It's 9-10-11, so I can't mess that up. So we just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary back here in September. So that
congrats,
was cool.
Man. Congrats.
Yeah, that's it's not an easy road, man. Like I think marriage is harder than this diet. And I don't even want to call it a diet because it's not a diet.
Okay, good. I'm glad you changed that because I despise that word.
I hate the word diet. Diet to me, that's something that you do where you're eating like rabbit food, and you hate every part about your daily life. It's not fun.
Have you ever thought about it like the simplest way, Dexter, where the word diet has die in it?
No, but yeah, that you're very true. Like you're just dying.
The word lifestyle has life. The word diet has die.
Yeah.
I've never come across one diet in all my years of doing this that actually works long term.
Right. For sure. That's the biggest conversation I've had with people about the path that I'm on. Is it sustainable after you're done?
For sure.
And kind of my answer to people is, I don't know if you're ever really done. Like you either jump on board and you do it, or you just find out it's not for you, and then you go off on your own path. But I think once you get into this, and if you really, truly bite and believe into it, this truly just becomes like your normal day life. It's not a struggle. It's easy.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you brought that up because, we haven't known each other long, and I know you haven't necessarily been, how long has it been now since you started? When did you start your first ER shred?
October 1st of just this last year. So I'm just in my 4th month.
Yeah. So we're only talking, I mean, you've only been around 4 months, obviously I've been plugging away at this for well over 15 months now, and we don't know each other, but I always preach it's got to be for the lifestyle. It's got to be for no other reason because you deserve to feel amazing. And you're right. Like the goal is to just do it long enough that it becomes the new norm. It's no longer the weird thing. Like everything that we start that's new, that's scary, that's outside of our comfort zone is awkward at first. Would you agree? Like everything in life, right?
Everything.
And you got to freaking practice. Like you gotta fail. Yeah. I mean, how many times, Dexter, have you failed in entrepreneurship and business and sales and you just kept stepping forward? I mean, you talked about learning it from a very young age. So I'm going to assume that this is a high number.
Yeah, it's daily. Yeah. I feel like you fail at something daily.
Yeah.
Taking the wrong road on a way to a job or whatever. Like if you can't admit failures daily and how you're going to improve each step, like you'll never have success.
That's fascinating. Okay, let's unwrap that a little bit for people because from a health coaching perspective, I want to tap into your outside sales experience. I started my sales career selling coupons door to door. I get it. You know what I mean? Like the rhino skin, the mentality, the learning that right attitude. I think that that's a huge piece. Do you think that that's helped you commit to getting the results that you've gotten so far and just like, boom, you're like a motorboat. Like you see a thing and you're just like, bang, sharp turn, go. Is that you?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and as I was kind of thinking about this, where did it start? You guys are kind of really dialed into this. How did I just give up all these negative things that you're putting into your body? And how do you just quit them cold turkey? Whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, it doesn't matter. Like, how does someone just do it cold turkey? So I had to kind of go back to myself and go, how did I start doing that? Because this isn't the first time I've done this. You know, I kind of go back here, 10, 12 years ago, I was working for a guy by the name of John Bonner, who now turns out to be one of the most influential people in my life. He went down a really bad, nasty path. He caught a court case and then had to get put on like house arrest, had to go sober. And we were the life of the party. We were those people. So this was probably 2010-ish when this happened. And I made a commitment to him and said, hey, man, I understand you have to go sober. You can't have any drugs, alcohol, nothing. I'm going to do it with you. So this way I never want to hear the excuse, hey, it's just really hard. You don't understand what I'm going through. Like, I had to have a drink. Now he's got me as a support that says this guy just did it for no reason. I'm not bound by the courts. I didn't have to.
Yeah.
I quit drinking for almost 3 years just because of him.
Wow.
Just why not? I wanted to support him and what he was going through. And that way he always had kind of like that support system saying, there's another guy doing this for no other reason but me. Yeah. So that was my cold turkey type moment. And I realized like, I can just do that stuff. And yeah, I did it for almost 3 years. And then even now, like, I casually drink. The beer in my fridge expires before it gets drank. I mean, people bring it over. We have pool parties, whatever, and they'll bring over a 6-pack. I'm like, you realize this is going to expire before it gets drank, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So
I'm laughing because I literally still have 2 beers in my fridge right now that you just brought to mind that I can't remember when I actually put them in there because it's the same thing.
For sure. And so, John was one of those people that really kind of opened my eyes to sales approach. He always told me, he's like, approach is everything in life and in business. And so much of that I still just soak in. Like, if you're having problems with a sale, a customer, a life angle, a health thing, it's all about the approach that you take. And that's something that's carried me all the way through. So it's like, I always seem like I always have to go back to him and just like, there's so much I learned from your trials and tribulations that's really helped me grow as a person.
That's powerful. That's a lot of powerful stuff for sure.
Yeah.
You're lucky to have, I think one of the greatest gifts that we could have is the right mentor in life.
Right.
Somebody that's not, that's going to support us, but not bullshit us at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
That you know what I mean?
My dad's definitely that guy. I mean, that guy.
Okay, I was gonna say this has to go deeper than
it goes friend. Real deep,
like,
man.
Where do you get that from? Like, how do you just? Yeah. So tell me about your dad.
Sounded kind of like some humble beginnings. So my dad never had a father. He never knew who his real biological dad was.
Okay.
He grew up in a home where they didn't have running water. I think they might have had running water, but they didn't have like toilets, like indoor plumbing until he was in college. So it's no joke. The old school Sears catalogs that you could get for free that were like this thick.
Yeah.
That's what they used for toilet paper.
That's crazy.
So literally came from nothing. When we talk about people that are broke, I mean, the people that were broke had money compared to where he started, you know? And seeing kind of where he grew up and where he's at now in life, I mean, the guy's he's a success story all on his own. And so he drove me a lot to just say, hey, look, you can do anything you want in life. And he told me this ever since I was a kid. I don't care if you flip burgers at McDonald's, just be the absolute best burger flipper you can be.
Yeah.
Just be the best at it. And that's something that's always resonated. So from different jobs and past of life that I've taken, it's just do that the best you possibly can. Yeah. And the other thing, that he always says, and I just laugh about it sometimes, and it's this old saying, if you can't find time to do it right the first time, how are you going to find time to do it the second time? And so some of this stuff, like even jumping on like yard shred, if I can't do it right the first time, I'm going to be mad and pissed that I didn't. And how am I going to find time to do it again?
For sure. That is really sound advice. It literally, it's, I swear that same advice I heard in like a Robert Kiyosaki book I read, or a Dale Carnegie book, or you know what I mean? It fits those things, and you being wise enough to grasp that concept at that young age. Freaking kudos to your dad. I hope to be that dad. Like, I share all with my 11-year-old. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm like, in a way where it's not pressure, it's from an education standpoint. I think it's very powerful,
Yeah.
and things that I wish that I got. So, excuse me
And
one
there's
second,
so,
brother.
yeah.
Go ahead, keep talking. You got it. Go
Yeah,
ahead, keep talking. I just gotta get my charger.
for sure. Yeah, there's just so much to be said about like that old man type wisdom and advice. And, I think we've all gone
100%.
through that. You hear stuff that you think, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And all of a sudden, 5-10 years later, you're like, shit, that guy was right. Like,
Yeah.
why didn't I listen to this a long time ago? Like,
Yeah,
it's just that experience,
for
and
sure.
sometimes people have to have some hard experiences in life to either get forward on where they're going and what their paths are, or they have to keep making the mistakes until they become so hardened that they don't have another
Yeah.
choice.
You also, don't you think you also got to be open-minded enough to allow for the twists and the turns and the roundabouts and the abrupt halts, and you know what I mean, the redo overs, and you got to be open to that too. It's
For
part
sure.
of the journey. I think this ties into so much about this bigger thing of what we're doing. Even with the ER Shred program and community for people.
Yep. Yeah, I would 100% agree. But yeah,
This makes sense now. This all I always I love to trace back the roots.
yep, just to see like
It's
how
my
people
inquisitive
die.
health coaching mind that I want to know. The functional side, functional medicine side of always understanding the roots. So you have the drive, you have all that. Talk to me about health. Where I'm always curious, and I see this in a lot of entrepreneurs. I see it in a lot of successful people. We have this drive to obtain this thing in life, right? Whatever that may be, success, whatever success is defined as to that individual person.
Right.
And somewhere along the lines of, I think it's a loaded question, but for you, where was health? What was health like growing up, education wise, nutrition wise? You talked about your friend teaching you how to cook and food and stuff. Like, where was that all through the mix of this journey and life adventure? And how did it kind of spiral to a place where you were like, oh shit? So
Yeah,
I remember you remember you touching on that in
yeah.
the call last week a little.
So, a big part for me growing up is, my oldest brother, Duke, played hockey.
Mm-hmm.
He got me into it. So I was always fit and in great shape all the way through like my 20s, early 20s. Hockey is a demanding sport. And
For sure.
I remember still to this day, I was down in Phoenix and my mom didn't believe me that I had bought pink board shorts out of all things. And so I remember I took this picture and sent it to her of me in pink board shorts, and it was before selfies were a thing. And I look back on it now and I'm like, holy shit, I was ripped.
Yeah.
But it was before like Facebook, you had to be in college just to have one. So putting that stuff out there wasn't a thing. Like, you didn't take selfies of yourself with ripped abs to then like kind of be an influencer or impress people.
For sure.
I'm sending it to my mom, and it was a cameo thing. Look, I've got pink shorts on. It really happened.
Yeah.
So I look back on that and I was like, wow, I was always in really good shape. And, I didn't drink until I was 21 years old. So I didn't really have that vice in my life. I've never done drugs or I guess drugs. I've drank alcohol, but I was never a drug user. I've never smoked pot, any of that. So I kind of skipped all that stuff. And it was once until I got out of playing hockey, met, at the time, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and then just got to be a normal, let's say 21, 22, 23-year-old and just experiencing some life,
Gotcha.
And then with that, got out of the gym, stopped, working out, all that fun stuff. And, life just kind of happens.
Yeah.
And just started to just year after year, just progressively just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And for a while, I did get back into the gym, got into pretty good shape. And then I can't even tell you what was the reason why I stopped going to the gym. 5-6 times a week. I was going in the morning before work, and then sometimes even again after work.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you what that pivotal moment is why I stopped going, but I did.
Did you have nutrition tied in at that point, or is it just the workout focus?
No, at that point. So, my friend that I was talking about earlier, John, he got into doing like the bodybuilding, like physique shows.
Okay.
So I started kind of doing that stuff with him. I never competed or anything, but really dove into the nutritional side, eating clean, finding out places where we could go just to get chicken breasts. Like we found like Buffalo Wild Wings. We could just get the naked tenders. And if we were on the go and if we weren't making our, sweet potatoes and chicken breast meal prepping, we found places where we could get stuff on the go. So yeah, that was always kind of the thing. So I dove deep hard into that whole cycle of life, and then just eventually got it fat, happy, comfortable, and got out of it,
Yeah. Yeah. Did you find it? I mean, I know you're very, I'm gonna assume just from learning about you, I have a very addictive personality.
Yeah.
Right. Like when I'm on something, I'm like on something, but it can switch real quick. Like Sean actually made fun of me a while back. He's like, you have like the squirrel syndrome. And he was right. And I had to, that was actually in my mind, it was like, damn, this is good because I can really zone in and put the blinders on, but it's also bad at the same time. You know what I mean? So you have this, that personality.
That laser focus, that laser focus where you're just dialed into something. And once you're on that path, once you're on the tracks, you're not getting off.
Yeah, for sure.
And then once you do, it's a complete
do you feel
derail.
like that? Do you feel that you were just in that zone with that, and it wasn't really like what you described to me is the typical bodybuilding thing that I remember in the bodybuilding world? And now that I know what I know today from more extensive research and studying and things like mTOR and insulin sensitivity and stuff we're not going to dive into obviously now, it's really not that healthy.
No,
do you have a different definition of what eating clean and healthy means today versus even what you thought it was then?
Yeah, they're completely
from your
different.
Experience now.
Yeah, they're completely different.
Yeah.
What I used to thought eating clean, and that was all for bulk. You were doing that to lean out, become as paper dry as possible with your skin.
Right.
That was a different type versus this is a sustainable life. This is what you're doing to live. You know, when you were doing that stuff, like you were almost dead.
Yeah.
And you look good, but if you didn't feel great.
Yeah.
Where this
I'm gonna tell you, bro. I'm gonna tell you, I've played that road both ways. I've sustained the quote unquote look, whatever the hell that is. You know what I mean? I've had it for so many years, and I've made each of those lifestyles work. And I'll tell you, there's this way is it's not. It's funny how in this world of nutrition, it's okay. This way is for bulk and for getting that. But yet you can still, obtain all of that is what I've found, right? Like I live it, you know what I mean? It's my lifestyle. It's what I do. It's like just my normal. It's my everyday normal, you know what I mean? Of the life that I chose of ultramarathon running and such. You can obtain all of that, the slim, the look, the rip, the everything, but feel so much better. Like, alive every day, like, good sleep and focus and eyes are white and beaming and just health, it's so cool. So dude, thank you for sharing all that. It's always amazing to see. I hope people learned a little bit about, the power of just going at something, not playing games, not tiptoeing around stuff. That, success loves speed, doesn't it, Dexter? Like you've probably learned this too. Success loves speed. And I want to challenge everybody. We're right at the beginning of another shred. Let's challenge people to just go, right? Like dive in and go. take the risk. It's a calculated risk that many others have gone before you. Like, just go. Wouldn't you say?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, this goes back to kind of like, it's one of my favorite like sales acronyms. And it's called a SMART goal. Have you ever heard of the SMART goals?
100%. Go ahead. Tell everybody though, in case they haven't.
The SMART goals. They need to be specific.
Yeah.
And that's what this protocol is. It's very specific. There is just a meal plan, day to day, time to time, hour to hour of what you're doing. It's measurable. Like you take your before and after photos of a weight before, a measurements before. So you can measure how you're doing over the course of this protocol with 11 days. And then is it achievable? Can you achieve this goal? It's 11 days. Of course you can achieve it. You know? And then is it realistic? It's 100% realistic. You know, you look at guys like me, Tim Scott from last week. There's people doing it. And it's not just these one-off, two-off stories. There's thousands of people doing it. It's very realistic. And the one that ties into the most to ER Shred is it's timely. There is the 11 days. There's a time period on it. So you know each day, like, all I have to do is make it to this point and I've made it. So versus people that just say, I want to lose weight. Okay, when? How? Yeah. And there's no answer to it.
Yeah. I love it. SMART goals are something that I learned way back in my door-to-door sales days. We literally had to set them every day on a goal sheet and write out our goals for the day, what we were going to do, vision, setting the expectation before it even happened, like all that great stuff. So I love that. I hope that's a good value that I hope people get to, that they receive for sure. All right, brother. So let's do this. So you lose track, you kind of just start to spiral. You stop going to the gym. Life happens.
For sure.
You knew obviously the concept of like food and the power of it to some extent because you were doing it before you were in that zone. How did it get to the opposite side? I mean, you talked last week about you got to 305.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me how that happened. And then what was the final thing that was like, okay, F it, like enough is enough. Like,
for sure,
it's time to go.
Yeah. So, once I stopped, doing the whole working out crazy heavy, I was like, this is a whole joke. Like, guys with abs, who compliments guys with abs in the gym? It's other dudes with abs. Like, chicks didn't care. It was other dudes that would always walk up to you. You look great, bro. Looking good. Looking swole. And it was just that attention that you're like, this is not what I want. And so I was like, you know what? I want to try some other stuff, right? And I want to eat stuffed crust pizza. And it kind of became this joke amongst my family, like I could just power down a massive amount of food. And, to the point where my parents would send me little memes or jokes, like every pizza is a personal pan of pizza if you try hard enough. And it's no joke. I mean, I'd eat a whole large pizza to myself and feel good about it. And that just compounded into just a life of just unhealthy choices. And then I saw the negative results for it. I blamed my wife for shrinking my clothes. And she's like, I didn't shrink your clothes. You're just getting fat. Yeah. And outgrowing 2 sizes of clothes over the course of 6-7 years. And just got to the point where you just didn't feel good on just a lot of different levels, emotionally, physically. You didn't feel good. You kind of look down on yourself. Like, I used to be in such good shape. Clothes used to look good on me. Now I just look like the Michelin Man, and it just got to be not fun.
So you're almost like literally taking digs at yourself every day.
Yeah.
And like pumping negative crap into the subconscious to just sit there and just marinate on pretty much all the time.
Yep. And that's what it boiled down to. I mean, it just turned into, my life had just progressed and moved on. And, sure, we'll go out to eat, and why not have the $50 steak? I can afford it. Yeah. Why not do this or do that? And so you just dive into that life, and it turned into just nothing but good things. Like it was horrible for me. I felt good that I could do all that stuff and eat the foods I wanted, drink soda all day long, but that it lasted for the minute while you were eating it or drinking it or doing whatever you were doing. You know, the other 23 hours in the day, you felt miserable. And you got to the point where, you know, you've really kind of started to feel like ashamed of how you looked. And then you'd see, like, I've always had this kind of small man's complex. Well, I've never thought I've been like a big guy. And then I see photos of myself with other people who I thought were my size. And then I see them and I'm like, holy shit. I'm twice as big as this person that I thought in my own head that I was the same size as. And you see those images, and that's when it really started to hit you. And then I try and like rationalize it. You know, I've got a good friend of mine who's 6'10", 550. And I'd see photos of Big Mick and I next to each other. And I was like, oh, see, I'm not that big. And that's kind of how I like justified it, you know, but Big Mick and I were two different people. His whole family's that big.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just 6'1", but at 6'1" and 305 pounds, like you're getting to be a big boy, you know?
Yeah.
And so it just didn't feel good. So I just kind of went off, and, you know, it was around like our anniversary in September. We were down in Florida, and I just kind of felt bad. You know, my wife's done such a good job her whole life of staying fit. She goes to the gym all the time. She does a lot to make sure she looks her best. And I kind of felt like I was taking advantage of that. She makes sure she looks her best, not only for her, but for me. And that really turned into like a one-way street. I didn't feel like I was putting in my part of the effort, and it just didn't feel good. So, and then that's kind of when I stumbled across the shred.
It's crazy how things just come out of the universe, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
for sure.
Well, bam, there you go, dude. You first of all, my crazy cat. First of all, thank you for sharing that. That's a very vulnerable place to be. Not many men that I know have the courage to step into and actually admit something like that. And I just want to applaud you, Dexter, because more men need to speak up about that. It's a really important thing. It messes with the mental psyche. Mental health is a big deal. If you're shit talking yourself all day long, it's going to lead to a lot of other bad stuff. Then we get bad health, and couple those effects with the bad thoughts, and you're like a freaking ticking time bomb, right? Like
it is.
And then it's not even, it's the people that you truly care about the most. Your wife, your kids, the people that you know you're doing life for, and then you have this realization like, oh crap, you know? And I get it, because with an addictive personality, you know, I know you never took this road, but I unfortunately did play with, you know, ecstasy in the past, and, you know, a couple other things. I never went hardcore, and thankfully I was able to just like, whoa, after a couple years, and be like, basically like you just described, I was like, okay, what the hell are you doing with your life? Like, and it still took me many years to get to today, obviously, you know? But I wanted to sit in this for a second, because it really was such a powerful thing. And whether it's a male or female, I feel so many people have just been beat. We just got the shit beat out of us through life. And now, especially with these last couple of years of this extra, it's at this point where it's like, whoa, you know, what's not talked about that much, unfortunately, is actually the mental health crisis going on right now, is what that's caused. And, you know, you just brought that up. So, okay. So now the magic question: you find yourself in this place, you find yourself where you're like, I kind of hate my life right now.
Right.
What so ER Shred fell into your life, but you also have to have this thing, right? Like it was that moment for you that you just described while you were away, that you had this realization on it, like this visualization and this connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you let that, sorry, this is two part, because I think there's another part. Have you thought something like that before, but talked yourself out of it or brushed it off or made up a reason why it couldn't have been true, where this time you didn't allow that to happen?
For sure. There's lots of times where I was like, I just need to get back in the gym. Like, I know once I get back in, my personality, I'm going to just dive head in. I'll lose the weight, no problem. And I'll do it. I'm going to start next month. And next month comes. I'll do it next month. Something came up. We're going on a trip, whatever. And I just couldn't get to the point to do it. You know, and my wife tried to get me to stop drinking soda for the last year. And she was very vocal about it. And I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I didn't think I could do it because I really liked, you know, drinking soda, doing whatever. And, you know, and then it just hit me right at the middle to end of like September when one of my new cars showed up and someone made the comment and goes, how are you going to fit into that thing? And it's just the light bulb went off. And it was kind of another one of those moments where you're like kind of kicking yourself going, I don't know if I can fit into this thing.
Yeah.
And
like, and that was a new Corvette that showed up, right?
Yeah. And we've all seen those people that we see get in and out of their cars, and you're like, that poor person, like, can't even get in or out of their car. Yeah. And that's subconsciously kind of how I felt. Like, what do I do? Go pick this thing up from the dealership when it shows in off the truck and I can't get in it or get out of it? Then what? Yeah. I got to call my buddy and have him come drive it down to my shop? Like, how embarrassing is that? Yeah. And so
was this affecting you at all from, like, you know, we talked about this. You have 2 older children and then you have a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And obviously, you know, that age is very high energy, is very go, is, you know, was this affecting anything from like dad perspective? Like, yeah,
there were some things that, like, I would constantly have to tell Mia, like, hey, I just can't. We need to take a break. I know you want to go run, you want to go play, or you want to swim in the pool. Like, dad needs a break for a minute. And that sucked. I hated that. And, you know, and my dad growing up when I was that age, he was an aerobics instructor. And knowing, like, his genetics and whatever, I had found an old photo of him, and believe it or not, he had a natural 8-pack, and this was before supplements, and he was just doing aerobics. So it's like, I know that that's our family genetics. Yeah. And so I knew I could get kind of back to that point. But yeah, it sucks. I hated not being able to do the things with her that I wanted to be able to do. Yeah. And so September was it was a hard month for me. It was great on a lot of aspects, you know, celebrating a 10-year wedding anniversary and doing that whole thing. But then at the other point, like, life was starting just to stack up, and I just wasn't in a good place. And a longtime friend of mine, Mike Hass, who is the one that got me on ER Shred, had posted some before and after photos of what he did from, I think it was June, July through like August. And it caught me at the right time, at the right moment. And that was it. That was the light bulb. And I was like, I have to do something. And so got a hold of him and kind of just dove into it and was like, you know, we've got this local program. It's called Billings Last Diet. It is the most miserable thing that I've ever heard of in my life. I'm talking like meal prepping to the extreme. From what I've heard, like 8 cups of vegetables and this and that. And sure, people lose a ton of weight on it, right? Yeah. But every person I've ever seen do it, that once they get off the program, they balloon all the way back up to their starting weight and then past it. And I was like, well, that's not going to work for me. Yeah. So then I dove into Mike and was like, what is it? Like, what's the catch? And he's like, there's no catch. You like protein shakes? I'm like, I've always liked protein shakes. Yeah. He's like, you like steak? I was like, dude, if I could eat steak, chicken breast, lemon pepper chicken, and broccoli every single day, I'm the happiest person in the world. Like, I don't need anything else. And he goes, well, that covers it. You're good.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then just
did you doubt like you know, all the stuff that you've been in and out of the game with the the bodybuilding and stuff like that? Like, did you hear any crazy stories? Did you have any doubt about the fats or anything to that nature?
No. Mike was really good about explaining kind of the process. And he's like, the best way I can describe it is for somebody who knows nothing. You're going into this completely blind. He's like, it's keto and Atkinson's combined, and you get the best of both worlds. And I'm like, okay, we all know Atkins worked for a lot of people for a long time.
Yeah.
Keto is the newest, latest, greatest thing in the world. But most people realize if they dive into it, keto is one of the hardest things to ever achieve, just actually stay in ketosis. So if you're doing the best of both worlds, I'm like, okay, this seems very realistic and manageable.
Yeah.
And so I didn't second guess it. I didn't research it. I trust Mike, 100%. And if he said, hey, you just need to try this, that was it. That's all I needed for myself, and just did it.
And you also saw his result, right?
Yeah. And Mike's results, they're very, they're relative. Okay. He's not a big guy. I mean, I think he was, let's just say he was 190 pounds and he dropped down to like 160. So, but based off like percentages, I mean, that's a good percent.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, if I can do those same type of results, but at a much larger scale, my progression and my results are just going to be that much bigger.
For sure.
And that's all it took for me. And so like you said, I started it right at 305. I ended my first 11-day shred about 18 pounds down.
Wow.
The first 11 days. And it was no joke. I started, I think it was a Thursday or Friday, whatever October 1st was, and just went cold turkey, no soda, went right straight to the protocol. And I haven't had a single soda since. Nothing.
Yeah. What did anything happen? I don't know if you've seen John Risley's story. He just posted in the comments. He was 390 and he's dropped to 325 in 2 months. I mean, it's the results are just they're profound. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's actually new science. We've all heard that saying, "Oh, you got to lose a pound or two a week to make it sustainable." I'm going to call a big fat stamp of BS on that. There's science to back. It's actually the opposite now, which is really cool. And the cool thing, Dexter, is compared to even the bodybuilding days. Do you, I remember when I was bodybuilding, I was always hungry, bro. Like I was always trying to eat something, you know what I mean? And now it's just, I feel so sustained and so awesome. Like, I think you're
visiting. You want to say hi?
She coming to say hi?
Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Say hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh, she's too cute.
Okay.
Too cute. Do you find, I mean, talk about like, you gave up soda, you gave up all these sugary things, you gave up stuff that people are quote unquote addicted to.
Yeah.
And you replaced that all with high quality proteins, high quality animal fats, high quality animal protein, undenatured whey protein, collagen, bone broth. Like you just simply replace that stuff with really super dense, high quality, bioavailable nutrition. Talk about like experiences. Like, did you struggle with headaches? Did you feel cravings? Were you, what was all that like? Like what people are just starting and stuff, right? Like what are some of the things that maybe happen, or what can you tell them to like achieve what you just shared?
For sure. So, one of the biggest things that I probably hit was kind of, I kind of got warned. Just so you know, you're coming straight cold turkey off sodas, coffees, energy drinks, all that.
Okay.
You were going to get a caffeine withdrawal headache. And And what was crazy to me, it was my sister-in-law that told me this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like it became like this challenge to me, like, not me, ain't going to happen to me. And so I remember I was like on like day 8, started to kind of get one. And I was like, oh no, this is what she's talking about. Right.
Yeah.
So all I did was I did one of the hydrate sticks in a bottle of water. And I took that package of the hydrate sticks as like my little secret cache of you only use these when absolutely necessary. Like you're going to stick to just water, and these other things over here that we say you can use, I treated them as like a delicacy.
I love this. I like this a lot.
I'm only going to have the one.
Yes.
And it's only when it's 100% needed, because I felt like for me, if I just did I can have one today and then tomorrow, I had one yesterday. I have 2 today. That's no big deal. And then I'd get out of the fact of going, I should just be drinking just straight good pH balanced water. And then I'd be dependent on those. I just would switch vices. So I just use those as like an absolute necessity. If I started to get a little bit of the jitters, I would have one of those out of necessity, not out of want. And that was a big thing for me. And I was the same way with even like the snack tablets. I treated those and the hydrate sticks the same. That's a treat. That's a delicacy. I wasn't trying to use those on a regular basis as a supplement just because you could. That way, when I did,
this is awesome. This is, I'm known for the whole suck it up buttercup motto mentality. I love this so much. I do appreciate that different people are wired differently from past experiences of life and trauma and situational, things that bring us to where we're at in life. But if people can see the power in what you've done, like you broke the hardwire connection and knew your addictive personality that would cause a trigger, and you were able to identify that trigger and put limitations on that trigger. And what you did, maybe not even knowingly, Dexter, is you use the hydrate and the tabs for, honestly, when we look at this from a health perspective, what they're used for. I mean, you're stripping carbs, you're going to dump sodium. When you felt the need, you replace the electrolytes, you use good quality water, you didn't overdo it. Like, you just kind of like went down the road. And when, I've heard other stories of this, when people just go down the road, it's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. So kudos to you. I hope people can grab that from you.
Yeah.
So first shred you lose 18 pounds. And then when you're done, this is always a big question to people. Well, when I'm done with 11 days, like, what do I do? Like, tell me how you felt at the end of 11 days and what was the next thought?
Yeah. And I get that question all the time right now. So they're like, so what about after the 11 days? Then what?
Yeah.
I'm like, don't stop. Just don't stop. Like, you either find it's a fit for you or not. And so I kept doing at least one shake a day, every single day.
Yeah.
And then I would try and supplement in, eating chicken breasts or whatever for lunch. And then I'd come home and we'd have, our meat protein type dinner, and I just kept trying to do that as the best of my ability up until my next 11-day cycle, which was in the 1st of October. The big thing for me was going, hey, I still need to live. And going, if my daughter's having, whatever for dinner, mac and cheese, and she wants to give me a bite, like, I can still do that. It's okay. I still want to be able to live and enjoy and have some experiences, but also stay on track with what's my end goal. And that's what, for me, this program has been so amazing. It's just saying it's a lifestyle. You can still go to a tailgate. You can go out and celebrate a birthday with a family member and have cake and ice cream and all that other fun stuff. But just know tomorrow, get back on track. you know, and use that as the start over period. Like you didn't fail, you just lived.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be the whole day either sometimes, Dexter.
No.
You know what I mean? Like you know, if you know you're going somewhere tomorrow night, you know, you have that whole day to still. I mean, when you choose healthy food now, I love that you're creating this ultimate balance. And again, it depends on where you're at, what your ultimate goal is. You know, for me, I mean, I've dove my entire basically adult life into this, you know. And for me, I explained it to somebody today. I said, for me, you know, as an athlete, it was always about increasing performance and going for that next big thing. And where now it's about increasing performance and being able to perform at high levels continuously, especially as I get older. But more importantly, it's the long-term center, like main focus for everything is long-term daily quality of health.
For sure.
Because it makes me a better person. It makes me a better dad. It makes me a better business owner. It makes me a better coach. It makes me a better, I think it makes you a better, whatever you are, it elevates you. Do you feel that when you have your health, are you doing it like that ultimate reason of why you're choosing mostly quality now? Because people, I want people to really realize that this is the complete opposite of a freaking diet, right? Like, it's nothing close.
Right. And I got so lucky. I've got a real good dear friend of mine. They raise Wagyu beef. And in the meat world, like Wagyu is as good as it gets.
For sure.
And so when I get dropped off a half a beef of Wagyu, and he's like, enjoy, man. Like I was set. And and then on top of that, I've got a bunch of A5 Wagyu of Kobe A5 Wagyu that I get to eat. And I'm like, so now I get to eat this stuff on a part of my program? Like, how is this real? You know, I just feel so lucky to be able to do that and dive into it.
Do you question, I mean, what do you question now from a nutrition standpoint? I mean, you're eating animal fats, you're eating grass-fed butter, you're not scared of Himalayan pink sea salt, you're not necessarily scared of food, you're understanding the balance. And that's not even like, there's so much science, bro. Like my brain's like firing so like every direction right now. There's so much science behind the stuff that you're sharing in such a simple way.
Yeah, it's dumbed down from someone like you that has the technical. Someone's got, I want to know how many milligrams of this does it take to get this. Like you have that answer. Someone asked me, and I'm like, well, I mean, here's the dumbed down version.
Yeah.
So you brought up pink Himalayan salt, right?
Yeah.
And it's the one thing that I guess I've told people about this protocol. Like, it doesn't always have to be a cookie cutter thing. Okay.
For sure.
Because of my cousin and his culinary background, I've been basically addicted to kosher salt.
Okay.
For a long time. My parents give me bottles of kosher salt for Christmas. I eat that much. That's the one thing I've never done is the pink Himalayan salt.
Okay.
And I'm curious to ask, you know, what's the fundamental difference between the pink Himalayan salt and kosher salt?
Well, okay. So to answer your question, if you really want to get technical, you actually have to dive a little deeper. There's different levels of pink Himalayan sea salt. What you want really is pure, authentic sea salt. Just like the food that you want to go in your body, you don't want it to be ultra processed. You don't want it to be highly stripped of all of the vital minerals. Real salt, not the normal salt of America, is loaded with vital minerals. One of them being sodium.
Right.
You know, and there's a lot of other essential minerals as well. And you can actually go online and find real, authentic sea salt and have it. And it's really just to help with electrolyte imbalance. The magnesium, it plays a lot of roles.
Gotcha. So that's like everyone goes, you know, so what's like your one fault in the program? Because everyone has one, like whether you hate bone broth or whatever it is. Like mine's always been, you know what, I'm a huge fan of my kosher salt. I'm sure the pink Himalayan salt's great, but that's the one thing I guess
Dude, I love that you brought that up because for me, I was talking to my very dear good friend Susan Rothman, who's the head, she's our holistic nurse, the head of our health board. We were talking today, and I shared a fascinating podcast with her that was like 2 hours long. They were just brilliant minds, and they were diving into a lot of medical stuff. And really, at the end of this podcast, they literally gave us, in the model of what we're doing, the biggest like raise. If I wasn't convinced enough, Dexter, this put me over the waterfall. You know what I mean? With like this information that I heard. And it's just crazy. And you're right, because the big main goal is that we're driving to address factors that play such a compound role inside of our bodies for our ultimate cellular health. Things like, trying to control inflammation, and things like, really getting control of aggressive adipose belly fat, and, the mind connection from the brain to the gut, and, rebalancing everything. And when you start to kind of do all that, and even if like you're sharing, if you could address the main key bigger concepts, which most people can do, and you can even live life as you call it, you're going to be doing so much better than if you just followed the standard American diet way.
Yeah. And what's crazy is something that got brought up here a while ago was go back and find any random photo from people on the beach, at the lake from like 1985. Yeah. It can be any group of people, right?
Yeah.
Look at just the overall mass of average people from 1985 to 2021, 2022.
Right.
And that's something that's always questioned myself. Like, why is that? What are people doing different? And it boils down to one thing. It's what we're ingesting into our bodies. 100%. And it's the processed foods and the get rich quick type nutrition. Like, I don't want to do this the right, normal, healthy way. I want to just do this fast, easy, it's convenient. Yeah. And you start to look at all the crap that's in food just so these people can make it sellable. And it's like, this isn't food. This is just stuffing. It's filling. That's all it is.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love this because it's so flexible. You know what I mean? Because it's so powerful in its foundation and its roots, and it's so flexible where it's like somebody like me, that's really dialing in. I'm taking regenerative, blood, kidney, liver, spleen, bull testicle. I'm pushing the boundaries like I always do. You know what I mean? And there's still with that, little tiny things like life, here and there, like you were just kind of sharing, like I still do that too, but it's just a different level. And it's cool that we can have something where it's flexible to every walk of life. Every walk of life can do this and obtain it. And you just shared perfect examples of that. And really, it comes down to committing, going all in, giving it an honest effort. You did that. You kept going. And where are you at now? You're 4 months into this. You started at 305 and you're where now?
Like 252-ish, 251.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so it's like I broke that 50-pound barrier, and then I kind of just lived life during the holidays.
Yeah.
And then I was excited, going, hey, come, the 10th, I kind of started around the 3rd, early pre-shredding just a little bit. And then obviously, Monday hit and it's just, okay, we're doing the nationwide shred, jumped on board and like, we're doing it again. So
what brings you coming back? Let's finish it up with this, Dexter. Yeah. What brings you, what's the difference in the way that you feel doing the ER shred and why you're so excited to be like, oh, hey, I'm just going to jump on another one. And like, that's not the norm, to be honest, bro, in the nutrition space, right? Like people, they do it for a little while, they go off and they can't get back on. Like, is it the community? Is it the culture? Is it the experience you're feeling? Is it the realization you're having with food now? Is it the non-scale victories? Like, what is it?
I think it's a combination of all like 4 of those things. The community is number one. Like you know, I talked earlier about the program that we have locally. I hear so many things like it's like a bashing thing. It's like a shame contest. You have to go in and get weighed in front of people, and they ridicule you every single Tuesday on, you know, what you're doing wrong and you should be doing more. This is, whether people have setbacks or not, people are just on board to help you out, get back on track. That part is just awesome because everyone's at different stages and points of their shred journey, you know, so that's been huge. Getting back just the basics of food, you know, like our primal instincts of how did we used to survive? Yeah. There wasn't McDonald's. There wasn't this other stuff. Like what did they really eat? Well, this is it. That part's been great. The day-to-day like scale victories are just awesome for me. I mean, when I first started, there's the joke about guy standing on the scale and he sucked in his gut and his wife said, "You realize that's not going to help, right?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, so I can see the numbers." Like, yeah. And so for me, that's been a thing, being able just to bend over and tie my shoes and not feel like out of breath, you know, dropping a whole size in all my clothes already. I mean, that's been huge. Yeah. So all of that stuff just all plays in it. And I guess the reason why I just keep going is, like you said, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. And I've really just adapted it. And I just don't see another way to continue to get to kind of my end goal. Like my goal when I started was like, if I could lose 50 pounds doing this and never step foot into a gym, I think it's almost on the verge of not being realistic, but let's just see what happens. Right. And in 2.5, 3 months, I was there. And I was like, okay, well, I need a harder goal. So then I bumped it now to 230. So realistically, my goal is by like March 15th, I want to be in the 230s somewhere. Okay. And if that can happen, like, I think it's just going to be great. I mean, it's a big life changer. I mean, that's the better part of 70 pounds. And it's something that people think that you have to go to the gym and you got to live at the gym and go 6 days a week and 5 hours a day. I kind of want to be that person that says, you don't. Yeah. You can do this in other ways. And my goal with that is to eventually be able to go back to the gym and be able to go and then have an actual effective workout. And that's what I was probably the most scared about when I started was I was so big and out of shape. I felt like I was wasting time. I knew there was some benefit to going, but if I'm going to do it, I want to be able to give it all my effort. And by losing 50, 70 pounds, I'm going to be that much more effective when that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that, dude. You know, it's really important that people break it down in phases. You know, it's when you are that big, too much additional stress is actually causing more damage. So you're absolutely right in that. I wish people would understand that. It's just that we've been sold one way for so long. And I think that's the beauty of the ER Shred is that, you know, we start with nutrition. Obviously a hardcore flip of what is considered norm and quote unquote heart healthy. We flip that totally upside down. And then we give people that space to just start questioning everything, you know? And even something like the fact of, okay, like, do I know that physical activity is good for the human body? 100%. Am I in that position? Where am I at? Like, how is it going to be the best for me? So I love that you're able to open all of that up too. And I hope people can take that part of it as well. Man, you've dumped so much nuggets that if people can go back through this hour, I feel like they could literally like phrase it out. And I hope they can make some bullet points. I know I'm going to go back through and listen. I'm always about relearning again. And that's why I love doing these things and listening to these stories. So I appreciate you for showing up at 100% tonight. It's been really awesome getting to know you and kind of diving in and pulling back some layers of how your brain thinks. I think if people can grasp some of that, they can really make some big changes in their life.
Yeah, for sure. And like one of the biggest things for me too was getting pushed into a diet when you're not ready. I think you're setting yourself up for failure. Like you have to want to do this for yourself and get to the point where this is something you finally just want to do 100%. For you. And when it's forced or outside pressure, like you're getting hit up by like the salesperson, like, oh, you should really do this, and it's pressure, I think you're setting yourself up for a 50% chance that you won't do another shred. You won't make it past the 11 days. But when you get to that point where you're rock bottom for yourself, you know that like you're just doing this for one person, and that's yourself.
Yeah.
Sure, there's alternative motives of why you're doing it, but when you're 100% committed for yourself, it just is so much easier.
Yeah, I love that, Dexter. And I want to point out too, you know, it's really important that I hope that we get to a point, you know, I'm very much aware that there's a lot of people that are showing up here to the community, and they're at that point. They've thrown up their hands, they've had enough. They said, okay, like, holy shit, like I can't do anymore. I've tried everything. And for some reason, whatever that may be, they decided to come here, and I'm so glad they are. But my hope is that we come to the realization one day that this is not just about that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not for that last resort. Like, I never started doing this, and I don't choose to continue to live my life like this because I needed that. I was at that place with my nutrition and my health. Like, I've been, you know, an ultramarathon runner. I've been an athlete for many years, and I've done different ways of nutritional feeding and fueling and based off learning in school. And I can clearly state my opinion, from what I've learned, factual, learning wise, book wise, but more importantly, from trial and error myself, this is hands down the better way to live. It's good for performance, for quality of health. More importantly to me, long-term cellular health, longevity, what we need to function as human beings on a daily basis as we continue that aging process, which is really crucial.
Yeah,
that's what I really hope for. So listen, brother, I appreciate you guys. Any last minute thing that you want to share, Dexter? I mean, we dove through a lot, but is there anything else that you have that you would want to share with anybody?
No, not really, nothing in particular. Just how much I appreciate the support from guys like you and Sean, a bunch of the other ER shredders that have reached out. It's just been phenomenal. And, you know, I do want to thank, you know, my wife and my family for jumping on board with me to help
100%
me do this and support, you know, an individual in their process to grow.
Yeah.
That's
I'm really anxious to one, stay connected. By the way, I played hockey growing up. I was a goalie. We got so much more to talk about. My sister was my backup in high school. Like, we can share some cool stories. So I definitely want to stay connected. I'm really excited to follow up and do another one of these with you in a few months from now. I have no doubt that you're going to be smashing this, that you're going to see more things in life come to life, come alive, if you will, as you continue the journey of health. I think our health is our foundation. It's the backbone to everything else that we do. It wouldn't surprise me if you crushed more goals professionally and just had that. Because when you have that energy, when you have that health, you have that ability to then go out and do that. So thanks for showing up tonight. Thanks for being vulnerable. I really, really appreciate it. And for everybody who stayed with us, we appreciate you. Don't miss our call tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where I met Dexter last Wednesday. That was a pretty epic call, right? When you hear all those stories, it's just really, really freaking cool. So don't miss that. www.ershredders.com is where you can find our group for free. And then obviously Thursday we have our Share the Shred call. And it's this week, it's actually going to be with Heather Sika-Leonard, our Shreducator. And she's going to dive into all of the amazing resources that we have available with the ER Shred that you get for free. All the guides, all the community, all the stuff that Dexter was sharing. So thanks, guys. We hope you have an amazing night. Dexter, thanks again. I can't wait to touch base and chat some more. So I think we got a lot more stories in life that we can unpack and learn from each other.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Have a great night. Bye-bye.